The meeting of the Revere Board of Appeals will now come to order. Roll call.
Mr. Bacilli? Mr. Corrin is participating remotely due to geographical distance from the meeting. Mr. D'Angelo? Mr. Mazzoni? Mr. Tucker? Quorum is present. Calendar item number A1715, which has been continued from the meeting of June 28th, 2017. This is the application of Wilma and Jacqueline Tremino, 37 Savage Street, Revere, requesting side yard and number of building stories variances to enable the appellant to construct a first floor and second floor addition to an existing two-family dwelling on Lot Dash at 37 Savage Street, Revere.
The applicant present. Please press the microphone and the light will come on. State your name and address for the record.
My name is Benny Bear, 2001 Beacon Street, Boston. I'm the architect for the project. As we stated at the hearing last month, we're asking to get relief so we can construct an additional story on this house. Because of the site topography and the floor elevation of the basement floor is considered a story. So with the addition, this house will be considered a 3-story house. The zoning allows 2.5 stories, and that's a relief we are requesting here. The house is currently a legal 2-family. It's going to remain a 2-family house. We're not adding a we're not adding dwelling units to the house. We were asked to show a parking plan illustrating 4 parking spaces. We submitted that. It was prepared by Thomas Bernardi. He's a survey engineer. It shows 4 parking spaces. 3 of them are right in the front yard, and 1 of them is on a side yard. This drawing that we submitted by Engineer Bernardi also illustrates the height of the building. That is well below the number of feet that's allowed in this zoning district. And we're here. We were also asked at the hearing last month to have the owner present at the hearing. The owner and his family is right here. Mr. Tremino is sitting here. I'm sure he will want to address the board. And again, we think that we meet the requirements for a variance here. There's clearly a uniqueness to the situation of this particular house on the street, and just a few more inches in the in grade elevation, and the basement would not have been considered a story, and we would be well within our right to construct an addition. We have a hardship here because the owner, Mr. Tremino, and his family currently live in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom dwelling unit. They have a young and growing family, and they would like to enlarge the unit so they would have more bathrooms and more bedrooms for their growing family. And we think that this relief can be granted without derogation of the intent of the City of Revere zoning code. We have some photographs here of houses right in the neighborhood that have received apparently similar relief. This is a house right across the street. It's considerably higher than what we're proposing. And again, I don't know whether their basement is counted or not counted, but we are in a very similar situation. What we are proposing is a lot lower structure with less presence on the street. And this is the house 2 doors down at the corner of Savage Street.
Okay, thank you. Seeing that this is a public hearing, I will open it up for proponents. Anyone in favor? Please step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Wilmar Treminio, 37 Savage Street, Revere.
Okay, so you're the applicant. You are the applicant.
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other proponents? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Are there any opponents? Anyone opposed? Please, okay, so you can have a seat. First, we'll ask for the ward councilor if he wishes to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fellow zoning committeemen, it's a pleasure to be before you. Ward 6 Councilor Charlie Patch. First of all, I've had several people in the neighborhood complain about this project, mainly over one of the issues is the parking. I know in the past I've had a problem with the owner operates a big, when I mean big, a huge truck that he likes to park all over the neighborhood on Griffin or on the in his driveway. I thought we resolved that months ago, but I found out that it's back, the truck. But other than that, they're worried about. I went by there late last night. There was 3 cars parked in one driveway, and I just don't understand. I know it's listed as a legal 2-family, but but I don't know if it's being used as a two-family. I'd like to ask the owner, is it a two-family? So I don't know how many cars are already there on the street. There was no room to park on the street. So, and as far as the height, I believe some of the neighbors are a little concerned that they might be trying to make a three-family. And I just, I don't know if it's a good deal, good idea to allow this. I don't think, I have reason to believe that he really hasn't been a good neighbor, so that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other opponents? Kindly state up to the microphone, turn it on. If you press the button, it'll turn on. State
My
your
name-
name and address for the record.
My name is Lucille Shop. I live directly beside these people, and I don't really have any problems with them going up as long as there's no kitchen in there, and we know that it'll just be bedrooms and bathrooms. However, I don't see how they're gonna facilitate this parking. I mean, the truck is enough to drive everybody crazy in the neighborhood. And then, in addition to that, there's a motorcycle, there's other cars, and so you're looking at adding another, I just don't see it happening.
Okay, thank you. Any other opponents?
Francis Karsha, 44 Oakwood Avenue, but my only concern is
Could you
that
state your name, address, I'm sorry. Your name, please?
Francis, C-O-S-C-I-A. Okay, and my concern is that it's not going to be made into a three-family.
Okay, thank you. Any other opponents? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Any members wish to speak?
I have a question. Why so many bedrooms on the second floor?
If the architect or applicant would step up to the microphone.
No, Benny Bell, the architect. We're simply building on the existing footprint, and that's the available space. We are not, I'd like to address some of the comments. We are not creating a third unit. We're not creating a new kitchen. We are adding bedrooms and bathrooms. One of the bedrooms is a master bedroom, so it has its own bathroom. It's a master suite. And there's another bathroom on that floor that serves the other bedrooms that are on that floor. So that's the reason for the design.
So the total bedrooms for the second apartment, let's say, is how many?
No, you have 2 downstairs and we're adding 3, so it's going to be a total of 5. But when the project is done, we'll probably, the owner will probably not use one of the bedrooms downstairs as a bedroom, so it will be a 4-bedroom.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can somebody describe to me what the side yard is?
Okay, ma'am, we have to continue with this hearing. I do have a question regarding the parking. You have a plot plan that was provided. Parking spaces have to be 9 by 18, and on the side of the house, it does not depict a driveway of at least 9 by 18. It says 7 by, I don't have the plan in front of me, but 7 feet by 8 inches, I believe? Yes. So as far as this public hearing, he was not asking for a parking variance, which he would have to request today, and he does not have the proper width of a parking space.
Well, the narrow area is right where the chimney is. If you drive by the chimney and you pass it, now you have 9.2 feet of width, so you have the...
May I see that plan, please? Okay. You answered the question. We'll take on our next calendar item that we vote at the end.
The next item before the board is application A1716. This is the application of Darlene Swan, 60 DeHone Street, Revere, requesting a rear yard setback and maximum building coverage variance to enable the appellant to construct a one-story addition to the rear of an existing two-family dwelling at 60 DeHone Street, Revere.
Is the applicant present?
Yes, hi, I'm Darlene Swan, 60 DeHaan Street, Revere.
Okay. Do you wish to add anything, or the plan speaks for itself?
The plan kind of, I think, speaks for itself.
Okay.
You know, there's no surprises or anything like that.
All right, I'll continue with the hearing and ask if there's any proponents, and normally the ward councilor will speak first.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Ira Novoselsky, 53 DeHone Street, Ward 2 councilor. Darlene Swan has lived across the street from me for 43 years. And over the years, she has renovated her house several times with some expansions. And this time, she wants to square off the house, make some bigger rooms that she has in the back that are pretty small, and move her deck, and that's why she's here today. So as a counselor and the neighbor, I have no problems with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other proponents? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Any opponents? Anyone opposed? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Any members wish to speak? Okay, we can go on to the next calendar item number.
The next item before the board is application A1717. This is the application of Hugo Rizzuto, trustee of the Pines Realty Trust, 261 Rice Avenue, Revere, requesting front yard setback, height of structure, and maximum principal building coverage variances to enable the appellant to construct a single-family dwelling on lots 188 and 189 at 263 Rice Avenue, Revere. All right, Larry?
They're just providing plans for putting them up on pictures, Harvey, which you have copies of already. Not yet.
Mr. Chairman, I did give you an addendum, which is
Name and
Plan
address for the
A1.
record, just for John, please.
Attorney Lawrence Simeone, 385 Broadway, 300 Broadway, Revere, Massachusetts, representing the applicant Hugo Rizzuto, trustee of Pines Realty Trust.
Thank you.
So I did provide you earlier in the evening an amendment to the site plan, which I've identified as A1. It establishes the criteria and calculation for the lot coverage that we're seeking. Mr. Rizzuto, the trustee of the trust, seeks a variance of the dimensional criteria, the RA district, in the table 1724010 of the Revere Revised Zoning Law. Also, he seeks this variance in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 48, and Revere Revised Zoning Law, 1752010. Exhibit A to the proposed application establishes 263 Rice Avenue, Rice Avenue consists of two lots, 188, 189 Rice Avenue, which consists of 8,152 square feet. The property exceeds the requirement for the minimum lot size and the minimum lot frontage in the RA district. Minimum lot size in the RA district is 6,000, the minimum frontage is 60 foot of frontage. As you move to Exhibit B, which is the plans, the house plans that depict the proposed structure, some of which are in front of you, you'll see that the proposal is to construct a single-family home with 4,434 square feet of living space. The proposed dwelling exceeds the side yard setback requirements in the RA district, offering 10 feet 5 inches on one side and 15 feet, I believe it's 5 inches on the right-hand side. The proposed dwelling also exceeds the off-street parking requirement. Mr. Rizzuto has provided a plan, which, if I have a second. The house plans provide in the garage under 4 off-street parking spaces. When you add these 4 off-street parking spaces to the 4 spaces that can be established in the driveway, he has a total of 8 off-street parking spaces, which is 4 times the amount required under the zoning ordinance. What is noteworthy for the board is that there is no parking on Rice Ave. Essentially, he seeks the following relief. He needs maximum relief from the maximum height in the RA district, which is 30 feet. The proposed dwelling is 32.25 feet. He seeks relief from the maximum principal building coverage, which is 30% in the RA district. He seeks 40.4%. And he seeks a front yard variance from the 20-foot requirement under the RA district. Essentially, this is due to the first floor porch, which is appended to the structure that you can see on A1, and a second porch, which is not appended to the structure, is a floating deck, if you will, that sits on pilings. The plan also establishes landscaping in the front yard. There'll be 2 landscape areas. Now, when you look at the plan, Mr. Rizzuto anticipates putting vegetation that would match and be similar to that of the beach area. The height requirement is specifically due to 2 things. One is because Mr. Rizzuto wanted an additional off-street parking, he actually constructed this 7-foot, 7-inch floor, which is the garage, under the building. And this particular clearance, if you will, necessary clearance for automobiles, resulted in the need to go a little higher than what's required. The second issue as to why the height requirement is important is the designer of this structure established a metal roof. And the metal roof has a 12.3 pitch, which is necessary in order to keep snow loads off the particular roof. I've provided you, if I could just point it to you, Mr. Chairman. Over here, you've got this in your plans that were provided with the application, A6 and A7. You can see we've identified the exact amount of height that we need. As to the other requests for relief, Mr. Chairman, we're asking for relief from the maximum principal lot coverage and the setback requirement of the front yard. And this particular relief is attributable to these porches. The porches, one of which is appended to the structure and one of which is detached. These encroach upon the front yard. These particular porches are similar, and I'd like to just point out to the members. I'd like to point out to the certain structures, especially on Rice Ave, have walls, landscaping, right to the water resistance. On Rice Ave, it's a pretty dominant thing. Obviously, take the views in of Revere Beach and so forth. I'd also like to show at this time the particular house and the lot. This is the lot that's in the center photo. This is the house next door, which is 35 feet high, 35 to 37 feet high. That's the house he acquired and currently lives in when he purchased both this and this from the city of Revere's tax lien. And then you can see the aerials and where it's situated. Other than identifying what we need and what the need is based on, Mr. Chairman, I ask you to grant the relief. If any questions need to be asked, Mr. Rizzuto and I stand ready to answer them.
Thank you. Seeing that this is a public hearing, are there any other proponents in favor? And I'd ask that the Ward Councilor, Councilor Powers, step up to the microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. John Powers, 46 Neponset Street, Revere. And I currently represent the Ward 5 area where this lot is located. I normally don't come speaking in favor of zoning changes. As you recall, about 8 years ago, I was very instrumental in changing the zoning and eliminating the special permit status from down on the Point of Pines, Riverside, and the Grove section of Oak Island. So I'm very cognizant of, you know, the area and the way things have gone down there over the years. This is a vacant lot. Many times I've had calls from the neighbors because the growth has been high, and I've had to get the Board of Health go down there and clean it up. The thing that strikes me most about this proposal, as you well know, approximately 18 years ago, the parking was changed in the Point of Pines to one-sided parking. And that made it very, very difficult for residents down there. It was almost impossible prior to that to get fire apparatus or emergency vehicles down the streets. This proposal here sort of addresses that problem in that area. Somebody coming in there could, another developer building a lesser quality building could come in there and not put any parking underneath and visitor parking all over the neighborhood on Lancaster and on Whitten, okay? This gentleman has taken into consideration the need for parking down there and has, as you see in the plans, made 4 extra spaces available under the building and 4 spaces available for visitors that might be coming for an event, a party, or something like that at the house. This is a gentleman that has lived in this city prior to coming back here for 45 years, conducted a business in this city on the American Legion Highway, and is looking to build, as I said before, a quality building there, something that will certainly increase the values of the neighborhood and not take away from the values on Rice Avenue, which, as you know, is it's a beach area, and it's one of the, I would have to say, the crown jewels in the city. And so we don't have a developer here who's coming to put something in there that, you know, is not quality. We have a gentleman that's going to live down there with his family, and in my opinion, would be a tremendous asset to the community. So, as I said before, I don't ordinarily come in favor of zoning changes, but this is one I feel very comfortable after speaking with some of the neighbors down there. I feel very comfortable with, and I am here today to support it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ira Novoselsky, 53 Dehone Street, Ward 2 Counselor. Just to show my support for this project, I'm very good friends with Mr. Rizzuto and Rizzuti, and he's been doing a great number of things in Revere. He's looking to beautify the area. He had a good business here, and he's a good guy, and I look forward for him to do a good project. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponents? Hearing none, I'll close. Oh,
Just wanted to, Hugo Rizzuto, 261 Rice. I just wanted to mention to the board that I went through extreme efforts in trying not to impact the neighbors as much as I possibly could not, okay? I knew that that lot had been empty for years, and I knew that at some point, if somebody's going to put a house there, it's going to affect the neighbors in the back. There's just no way around it. So the person that designed this house for me is actually out in California. I physically flew him in. My instructions to him were to do as much as he could to minimize the impact on the neighbors, not only for the views, but also with the parking. No parking on Rice Ave. Whidden and Lancaster, it's a free-for-all. Whoever gets there first, and everybody is fighting for parking spots. So to make sure that the cars were completely off the streets, not only for my family, but also if I have guests over the house, I did not want anybody parking on the street and taking one of the neighbors' parking. So I insisted that we try to squeeze in as much as possible the cars on site. And that's why we did that four-car garage. That four-car garage, as a result, it raised the roof that 2 feet, which is in orange there. But the other floors are only, one of them is 8 feet, the floor above it is 8 feet, the floor above that is 8.5 feet. A structure like this, if I were to build this someplace else, okay, it would probably have 10-foot ceilings, 9, 10-foot ceilings. So we're not going extravagant. We try to keep it at the lowest possible level that we could because of that garage and because of the roof pitch requirement. The other critical element was the neighbors and the views. And I knew that the views were going to be affected. I knew that. So I looked at the porches and the patios and the windows of the houses behind me. And you can see them in some of these photos here. You can see those views. My neighbor to the right, Ms. Cataldo, has got a porch that, falls on the right setback. The right setback, I could have set that at 10 feet if I wanted to. And behind her is the Espositos, and they have a window which is directly behind and next to that porch. And I physically brought up a drone to see what the elevation of that window was and how far it was from the sideline. As a result, I squeezed the house so that I would have 15.5 feet on that right side. And that squeezing this way opened it a little tiny bit the other way.
okay, thank you very much, because I have to cut it off.
I'm sorry, okay.
No problem.
Thank
I
you.
do appreciate the aerial views, because that did help us in viewing the property as well. So I commend you on doing that. Are there any other proponents? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Are there any opponents? Anyone opposed? Please step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. And please, silence all electronic devices in the chambers.
Hi, I'm Tina De Almeida. I'm 92 Lancaster Ave, directly behind the building. I've been there 10 years now, and one of the wards was saying, the overgrown property, still overgrown. The house still that he's living in now, currently overgrown. So when I first saw the proposed of where the stakes
Ma'am, I just
are.
want to cut you short. I was there yesterday. When you say overgrown, can you clarify
Like
that?
to my knee, like there's the back lot has all weeds still, and it's just, they did recently mow it last week, but before they mowed it, it was up to my knee. I walk by with my dog every day.
Okay.
And then the corner house that they're living in, it's grown onto the sidewalk still. It's never been removed on that corner of Rice and Witten. So from where the stakes are, I see the plan says two-car driveway, but it's going to be barely a two-car driveway. So it's going to be, to me, no side yard at all. He wants to go deeper to the front, no front yard at all. And now I'm going to have a huge, just massive house with a four-car, undercar garage. And as far as parking on Lancaster, everybody has driveways and nobody even uses them because the street parking is totally fine unless it's the 3rd of July. You could drive down at any time. My neighbor next door, she has a two-car driveway. They both park in the street. Directly next to her, they have a driveway. They park in the street. So to have a four-car driveway, underground parking in a residential neighborhood seems a little obsessed to me, to make the house be so much higher, 2.5 feet, when I don't think that much parking is necessary on a regular day-to-day basis. Another issue that I had with it was the fact that they're going wider, but it seems like they're infringing onto the separate lot, so now they're going into two-lot space. So to me, it's like they're using the maximum space available and only having a side yard to the right of the house. Everything else is going to be full house, full closed up now. So that's what we're not happy about. It doesn't seem like it's going to go with the rest of the properties that everybody has lawns and not on top of each other.
On Rice Ave, they have lawns?
Everywhere around, other than Rice.
Okay, but
So-
we're talking Rice Ave where this
Well,
unit is.
from where I look, it will make, from what I've seen, to be a lawn and, more like suburb living to being just almost like a condominium right there, like full-on house. So,
Okay. And the side yard, they're not coming in for, so I'm wondering, that has not,
well, I'm just saying, that's all they'll have is the side yard. Seems like the other side, the two heights of the building will almost be like an alleyway. The corner building they currently own is extremely high, so they're building to have just a two-car, be able to walk by, no grass, no other side yard. They're building directly on driveway to driveway. And then a higher house than it should be because there's a four-car under driveway as well.
well, just for edification, I believe that the height of the house is because of the pitch of the roof and the foundation, which has to now meet floodplain. So they'll be going in front of Conservation Commission. So it's not like a typical house that was built there years ago. There's no basement.
I have no basement myself. I'm built on a slab, so I understand how
No,
that is.
this isn't a slab. This is a foundation that the water will flow through. That's what they require now for conservation. So that also increases the height, just based on what conservation requests.
And the width has to be so big for, what was the reason of why the width had to take up both lots and have
The width is because of the size of the house.
the house that doesn't fit on the lot, to my opinion. So they want a house that doesn't fit on the lot that they have, and don't you have to have a separate variance to separate those two lots? Because if, say
No.
he wants to sell, no, you can just, as long as you own both of them, you can put
Yeah.
it directly on.
Yeah, so they're here today for the Board of Appeals. This is not a city council, so I try to keep it.
I'm sorry, I've never been to
Nope,
one
I
of
try
these
to keep
before.
it just
All right, so
defined for
one
the
more
Board of
thing I
Appeals.
have is that, so he was saying his ceilings are only 8 feet high. My ceilings are 7.3 feet high, and that's how my house
But
is
no, he
lower.
was just stating that because of normal construction usually
Mm-hmm.
of the 10 feet. So they're here today for a front yard
Mm-hmm.
and a height variance. That's what we have to concentrate on.
Not for wider as well?
Nope. The lot coverage is
The lot
they're here
coverage is
for, but
sufficient?
as
Okay.
far as side yard, they
Doesn't appear to be
meet that.
sufficient from view, but, okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify because at least you had an opportunity to look at the plan today. Is there any other opponents? Anyone else? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. The next calendar item number? Or the members wish to speak before I go to the next calendar item number? Okay.
The next application before the board is application A1718, Santo Chiappina, 304 Suffolk Ave, Revere, requesting front yard setback exceeding maximum stories, minimum landscaping in the front yard, and maximum driveway width to enable the appellant to construct a two-family dwelling on lots A, 563, 564, and 565 Ridge Road, Revere.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Corey Rhodes. I'm an attorney with D'Ambrosio Brown LLP, 14 Proctor Avenue in Revere. I represent the applicant. This is the portion of Ridge Road, kind of on the far side of town, where it comes off of Prospect Place, off of Spring Ave.
Ma'am, please take that outside.
The property in question actually meets a lot of the requirements to build a two-family as of right, having area, side yard setback, rear yard setback, and this proposal even has more than the required number of parking for a two-family. It would be 6 parking spaces in total for a two-family, where only 4 are actually required in the ordinance. The significant site issue facing this property is a massive change in grade coming off of Ridge Road. It rises about 50 feet off of the road up to the properties that are on Suffolk Ave. Given these serious site constraints, we are trying to push the house a little forward, which is requiring us to seek a variance for front yard setback. And to accommodate having more parking on our property, we did add some width to our driveways and are asking for a variance for that as well. We did ask for a variance also in terms of stories for the property. This is actually more a request out of an abundance of caution. If this first floor where the parking will be is actually substantially under grade on the property, and it was more likely to be considered a basement under the ordinance, but we thought if we're coming in front of you, why don't we ask for everything we could possibly need, so we're asking for that as well. This property, this two-family, is actually going to be occupied and owned by my client's family, his 2 children in the audience today, both getting married soon, and I think this is a good wedding present for them and to keep this long-term Revere family in the city. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to go over it and appreciate any support you could give us.
Thank you. Are there any proponents? Anyone in favor? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Any opponents? Anyone opposed? Hearing that, I'll close that side of the hearing. Any members wish to speak? Okay, we can now take votes on each calendar item number.
Do you want to talk to him first and make sure he's still there?
Harvey, we're going to be taking votes. Could you just clarify that you're still on the line, please?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
The first application before the board is A1715, the application of Wilmer and Jacqueline Tremino, 37 Savage Street, requesting side yard number of building stories variances to enable the appellant to construct a first floor and second floor addition to an existing two-family dwelling on Lot Dash at 37 Savage Street. Question now comes on granting the relief requested. Mr. Bacilli?
No.
No. Mr. Corrin?
Mr. Corrin? No.
No. Mr. D'Angelo? No. Mr. Mazzoni?
No.
No. Mr. Tucker?
No.
No. This is denied. The next matter before the board is application A1716, the application of Darlene Swan, 60 DeHone Street, requesting rear yard setback, maximum building coverage variances to enable the appellant to construct a one-story addition to the rear of an existing two-family dwelling at 60 DeHone Street, Revere. Question now comes on granting the relief requested by the appellant. Mr. Bacilli?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Corrin?
Mr. Corrin?
Yes. Mr. D'Angelo? Yes. Mr. Mazzoni? Yes. Mr. Tucker?
Yes.
Yes, this is granted. The next application before the board is application A1717, the application of Hugo Rizzuto, trustee of Pines Realty Trust, requesting front yard setback, height of structure, and maximum principal building coverage to enable the appellant to construct a single-family dwelling on lots 188 and 189 at 263 Rice Ave. Question now comes on granting the relief requested by the appellant. Mr. Bacilli? Yes. Mr. Corrin?
Mr.
Yes. Mr. D'Angelo? Yes. Mr. Mazzoni? Yes. Mr. Tucker?
Yes.
Yes, this is granted. Next application before the board is application A1718, the application of Santo Chiappina, 304 Suffolk Ave, Revere, requesting front yard setback exceeding maximum stories, minimum landscaping in the front yard, and maximum driveway width to enable the appellant to construct a two-family dwelling on lots A, 563, 564, and 565 Ridge Road, Revere. Question now comes on granting the relief requested by the appellant. Mr. Bacilli? Yes. Mr. Corrin? Yes. Mr. D'Angelo? Yes. Mr. Mazzoni? Yes. Mr. Tucker?
Yes.
Yes, this is granted. No further business.
Having no further business, our next meeting will be August 23rd at 4 p.m. Thank you, Harvey.